20 to 6, I'm Rick Goddard. This is ABC Radio Hobart. Nick Squires has got Squires Plumbing in Moona, and we're talking all things pipes today. If you've got a question, send it through 0438 922 936. Can't guarantee you'll have the answer. He might. G'day, Nick.
Good morning, Rick. How are you?
Yeah, good. How have you guys been affected in the lockdown?
Well, I suppose similar to any other current business, workflows sort of easing up as larger clients of ours are impacted themselves directly or indirectly. There's also issues with supply chains and getting things in, because we do live on an island. It's quite hard to get certain supplies down here. That's effectively, where our most affected areas are.
Yeah. I mean, plumbing's interesting, isn't it? Because you were essential before we knew there were essential industries. It's one of those gigs.
We've been around for a very long time.
So one of my co-workers was talking about sorting out a bunch of his taps. Yep. How much can you do at home, and how much are you crossing over where you guys are in industry that stuff has to be signed off?
Look, people, I don't like to stress this. Obviously there's lots of DIYs out there, and plumbing's one of those things where people think that it's okay just to pull my taps apart and service them as they are. That's fine if you've got some knowledge on how to repair certain things around the place, bits and pieces like your dishwasher under the sink and certain types that are leaking within the bathroom and laundry and whatnot. That's fine to have a crack at them yourselves. Because obviously, limiting our contact is one of the biggest things that we need to try and achieve during this pandemic. Look, I could give tutorials and bits and pieces like that if people don't want to go down the path of getting a plumber across. But if there's anything plumbing related, I do urge that you get in contact with the plumber and get them to come around and have a look at it.
Because, it's that washer, it's the drippy tap thing, isn't it? Where it's so hard to get around to it because it's such a simple job, but if you get someone in, it's expensive.
Yeah.
And it's a bit like changing a fuse, There's those skills that we should be able to do. In terms of your staff going in and out of people's houses, what are you doing for to health and safety?
Well, I suppose first things first, and that comes to our staff and getting everyone on the same page with regards to what, how to understand what this virus actually is and what it does to us and how let's get down to the brass nuts and find out what the actual issue is that we're dealing with. And then we can start putting practices in place to try and alleviate some of these stresses that the virus may put on us. So I think it's all about changing the way that we think about this. It's not about chucking your opinion on top and saying, no, it's not going to affect me, or I'm super crazy about this, I'm just going to stay at home. It's about trying to educate yourself and I suppose changing the way you conduct works and processes. So we basically started off by giving toolbox meetings to explain our approach on good hygiene and washing hands and providing appropriate PPE for all the guys that are going out into these, quite undesirable conditions. As plumbers, we get used to it. You become desensitised by it all. But at the same token, effectively what you're doing is you're going out there as you're on the front line, so to speak, dealing with people's toilets and flowing water and all that sort of stuff. So PPE is one of our biggest things, just to try and see if we can set up a barrier in between us and any potential hazards: masks, gloves, overalls, hazmat suits, and of course making sure that we're washing our hands with good soapy, gritty hand wash, as well as then taking the extra step on top to sanitise after we've washed. That's basically how we're doing the employee side of it. Then obviously when it comes to our clients, we're doing has anyone been sick in the past 14 days, or is anyone showing symptoms? Everyone's healthy. Obviously just trying to reassure them that we're here for them, as well as, trying to protect ourselves. We want to make sure that everyone that we go to service old, young or indifferent, is in good shape, and to reassure them that we are in good shape.
And it's encouraging, isn't it, as the testing results start to come through and there's more testing in Tassie, you can feel more confident that the likelihood of going into a home and someone being sick there seems to be getting lower and lower. Nick, you're listening to Nick Squires of Squires Plumbing in Moona. It's 5:45, ABC Radio Hobart. And talking all things plumbing, if you've got a question, send it through 0438 922 936 if you are a plumber or about dealing with your plumbers. Some of the researchers said that they could look at wastewater and see evidence of spread of coronavirus through the community. Have you found out how much there's a risk of stuff being like in the pipes?
Well, look, there's every chance. Anything can be found in a sewer pipe. Let's just put it that way.
You sound like a man who's seen everything as well.
Not particularly, like I'm rather fresh to the plumbing industry. I work in a small family business where my father built it from the ground up, and effectively it's been a small family-run business, so it's always been around us kids. Dad's always been incredibly involved and proficient within the industry. So effectively, been practicing for the last few years now, but it's always been something that's been around, so we've always helped out with bits and pieces where we could. So I have seen a fair whack of it. I won't say that I've seen it all, because you'll never see it all.
Yeah.
There'll always be something that surprises you each and every day. But effectively, look, I think airborne issues in the sewer, I'm not scientific, so I wouldn't be able to tell you, parts per million of what you could find within the sewer, but effectively I am taking the precautions to make sure that the boys within the company are being safe, trying to put up that barrier between the sewer pipes, obviously, and us trying to contract anything that could potentially be dangerous towards us. But
Nick, got a question for you from George, and it's I'm sure lots of people have got this problem. If you can't answer it, it's fine. But when the plastic bits under the sink, the drain pipe there starts dripping, what are the likely causes of that?
Generally, there's a multitude of things that can go on underneath the sink. It looks all very simple, but at the same token, there's lots of little seals in there that are, one, perishable, so they're serviceable items. Two, you've got a connection there called a plug and waste connection. So effectively, that's the little grill that sits in the base of your stainless steel sink. Now, that's silicon in, so silicon degenerates over time, and bits and pieces sort of start to flake off, and you might find that water's an incredible thing. Water will find a way better than any other source that I've come across. So if there is a way for it to leak, it will find it, and it will leak. So underneath there, there's an array of seals on the P-trap, S-trap, depending on what you've got under there. You've also got dishwasher connections under there for your waste pipes. That could potentially be leaking. So there's lots of different things. My biggest thing, just as to point out for people out there, is don't be scared. Grab a bucket, chuck it under your P-trap, pull it apart, and figure out what's going on. Try and understand the system that's under there, because yes, you can. I'm sort of shooting myself in the foot here, but you guys can figure out what's going on and replace the seals by heading to any sort of local supplier. But at the same time, I'm not going to hide away from this. People don't want to be spending the astronomical amounts of money that plumbers do charge, because the industry is changing, incredibly competitive, and in order to stay within that competitive nature, the industry's got to blanket itself for sort of being consistent with its costings. But at the same time, let's go back to the other thing. Go to any local supplier, ask for a trap seal kit, and 80 to 90% of the time you'll find that there's either a missing seal, or there's a piece of PVC that's not aligned properly, or some silicone has given way. That might be just time to freshen it up.
There you go, George. That could be a pretty interesting project. And I've gone under a sink, taken some things apart and put them back together. I felt so proud once the dripping stopped. But, gee, everything got wet before it happened. Hey, Nick, great to talk to you.
Pleasure, Rick. Thanks very much for having me.
And best of, and we'll check in with you again. Nick Squires of Squires Plumbing in Moona. Tradie Tuesday. If there's anything you want us to talk about in terms of trades, if you're in the trades or dealing with trades people, then give us a hoy, 0438 922 936. George, thanks for your question.